Whew, alright, this is like my fourth time recording this, trying not to go too crazy on a tangent here, but last video really upset a lot of people, some very outspoken people in the comment section, which is perfectly fine. The point of the video was to open up discussion, whether it's done in a respectful way or not, I don't care. I just want to talk about some of these things. I won't be posting any specific comments. I don't want anyone watching this video to go back and find a specific comment or a specific person I'm talking about and go ahead and direct negativity towards them, so we're going to talk pretty general here. We need to go ahead and talk about the obvious thing here, which was people being really upset that I just said if you're bad at the game doesn't need to cater to you to hold your hand, and that playing against higher ranked players is bound to happen, and if you're bad at the game, nothing wrong with it, but you're going to play against better people at some point. I want to note that while this isn't a bad thing, and I have no complaints about this, the quote-unquote competitive community did try to get Stylus to make an official ranked system in PF. It never came to be. There was some progress made on it at different times, little bits of teasing here and there that it would happen, and it never did. No issues. It was a cool idea. I would have loved to see it happen, but it didn't. Now, the community did make community-based matchmaking things where we had a draft system, we had competitive leagues, we did it all ourselves because it wasn't something that could officially be done, or it just wasn't something that they either cared to do or had the time to do. Again, all perfectly fine. But we do have separate things, or at least we did. It's really not popular anymore. We tried to play against better people and only play against better people. And in fact, most of the time, a lot of those people poured in tons of hours into those community-based matchmaking servers because they wanted to improve. Now let's talk about the obvious one here, that playing against great players when you first start the game and how that's bothersome. I get it. I do. I have been in your shoes in the past. I've been in your shoes in the present on certain games that I play. I get beat all the time in the same way that other people watching this video do. It can be frustrating. Absolutely. If you're not a super competitive person, it's definitely more frustrating for you than it may be for me. All completely reasonable. But the truth of the matter is that it is impossible to go ahead and have a perfectly balanced system where everyone gets to play against their own skill level all the time. It's not possible. Call of Duty was used as the most common example, which is a terrible example for you to give. If you go on YouTube or Google and you search up Call of Duty bot lobby tutorial, you will find 15,000 videos on people who study and figure out how to get around skill-based matchmaking. Do you want to know why? Because even if you're good at the game, it doesn't mean you want to play casually or play super competitively all the time either. And the example that I'm going to give here, and some people might find it ridiculous, but I think it's somewhat reasonable and you can make sense out of, is if you're an NBA player, you're off of work, there's nothing to do, you go to a local gym and you play some pickup basketball with people there. Are you not allowed to play with those people just because you're casually playing for the day? The people in the NBA could be half blind, hand tied behind their back, and still be better than everyone at that gym by a mile. It doesn't matter. But does that mean that as a better player in their certain thing, they're not allowed to go play with other people? They're not allowed to casually have fun either? It's two different sides of the spectrum, and I get where certain people are coming from, but you need to see it from the other side as well. If you're super great at chess, does that mean that you never play against people worse than you? Do those worse people never play against better people to try to learn? It goes both ways, and you could be upset about it all you want. It will never be a perfect system. There will never be. It's impossible to do. There's not one single metric or one single group of metrics to fairly balance a game because every single match is different. Sometimes people are fully focused and locked in, sometimes they're not, and that will skew their stats based on the day, based on the game. It will never be perfect, and you just need to deal with that. Now, I wasn't aware of this. I was educated that apparently Phantom Forces currently does have an introductory kind of period where you're put in servers with newer players, or I guess I don't know exactly how it works, but apparently that does exist. That's already there. I don't know what else you would want at that point. You get the first little bit of playing the game against quote unquote newer players, and then all of a sudden it's a problem. I get it. But at the same time, don't play a player versus player game if you don't expect there to be some sort of challenge involved with it. There always will be on every single game, whether you like it or not. Another thing that I didn't really touch on, I don't think, or I think I briefly touched on, but people think that it seems like the general consensus was that, oh, it's just other players that are the problem, that new people don't want to get into the game. I want you to open up Phantom Forces and pretend to be a brand new player and go to the attachments tab. And you tell me if you look at that you feel welcomed or you feel like that is not overwhelming, because there's about 60 different sites. I'm throwing random numbers out here for exaggeration. There's like 60 different sites. There's like 10 to 20 to 30 different barrel attachments. There's like 10 different grips and 7 different lasers. And who the hell knows what they do? Because I still don't, and I've played the game for the better part of a decade. I don't pay attention to it like that. And the little bit of description that they give doesn't really help them either. People don't know how to read the advanced stats unless they actually care enough to learn it. You want to tell me that someone being good at the game is problematic? Sure, I could see where you're coming from. Why don't we discuss how you load into the game, there's 300 different weapons to choose from, some of them are awful, some of them are amazing, and you'll never know until you figure it out 6 months down the line or until you look up a YouTube video or read the Discord of someone who does know what they're talking about. Why don't we talk about that? Is that not problematic to you? Do you not think that, oh, I open up this game, I have not a clue what's going on. There's 600,000 attachments. And how do I unlock them? By sinking hours into the game. You either learn how to play the game or you don't. And perfectly fine on whatever scale you want to do. If you don't want to learn the game, by all means, cool. Play it however you want. I have no issues with that. Don't expect the developers to sink hundreds, if not thousands of hours into developing the game to handhold you through it because you don't want to improve in a player versus player game. Plenty of fantastic single player games out there. Player versus everything or player versus NPC shooter games out there. You can find them. They do exist. You don't need to play against other players. And while that may not seem like the nicest thing to hear, it's the truth. They do have, obviously, as I've come to learn, an introductory period to help you kind of learn the game. But again, you can't really learn the game because there's so damn much involved in it. Good luck on trying to figure it out because I still don't know what I'm doing to this day. And I have more hours put into the game than probably 99% of the people playing. To touch on this again, player skill should not be punished in the same way that it should not be rewarded, right? So just because someone's good at the game doesn't mean they don't want to casually play it as well. Being better at something does not mean you're turbo locked in and trying your hardest all the time and always trying to be the best. I hop on the game many times. I have music playing, I'm talking to friends, I'm watching a video at the same time. I'm sure you guys do it as well. You're not always fully focused on what's going on. The reason I love Phantom Forces is because I can play it fully brain dead. I don't need to be super locked in. If I want a competitive game, I go play Valorant, I go play Counter-Strike, I go play Apex Legends. PF, I have played competitively and I still do at times, but for the most part, I open up that game, I turn my brain off and just casually play. And do I get called a sweat every single time? Yeah, always called a sweat. The vote kick, like anti-vote kick for content creators was something that I personally super heavily pushed for. You wanna know why? I couldn't even play the game. People constantly kicked me for cheating, constantly kicked me saying that I was turbo sweaty or trying my heart out. I was just playing casually. So you wanna say that you guys can't play the game or you're struggling so much because there's high ranked players? People literally abused vote kick every single day that I played the game so that I couldn't enjoy it myself. I didn't do anything wrong. You guys aren't doing anything wrong. Nobody is wrong here, but understand that there are different sides of this. There is different spectrums and different, curves to how good or how bad someone might be at a game, and it'll never be perfect. You either deal with the fact that some people are better and you deal with the fact that some people are worse. Play the game and understand that it's just going to be difficult at times. And that's just the way it is, man. Stop making the excuse that just because there's other good players out there that you just could never enjoy the game. Either learn how to get better or understand that there will be people better than you and you just need to accept that. You will play however you want, use whatever guns you want. I complain all the time. I hate shotguns. I hate BFGs. I hate Heckates. I hate the NTW. That's fine. But people play however they want. And at the end of the day, by all means, if you're having fun, awesome. Happy for you. Be a little bit more realistic about how things work. And not everyone's going to do everything for you. Not everyone's going to cater to your wants and needs, same as they aren't going to cater to mine.